the most common human fears, day to day fears of human beings from the heart and from the mind of a psychic. So, and no, it's not skydiving. No, it's not even cockroaches. So, I so much want to do this video. I really want to talk around, what are the day to day human fears, and as a psychic myself, I I see very deeply, I see through the people, okay? I see through the human hearts. I see through yeah, I see through the people, so I know, like, and I've seen them, you know, I've seen common fears, the day to day fears. So, without much further, you know, delay, let's just start with the first point. So, the very first fear that I've seen in human beings, is the fear being taken advantage of. This is the fear that I've never missed in anybody, right? And some, of course, they play very defensive. They are not the ones, to open themselves up very soon. So these are the kind of people who usually most other people, they always want the other one to open up, you know and they are not the first one to open up, in any, let's say, in any new connection they try to make, in any new friendship they try to make. So they they always, want to know the other first, and they don't want to set the line, they don't want to set the tone. So yeah, I've seen this a lot. you know People are very afraid of, getting there. Yeah, people are very afraid of being taken advantage of. This is number one. Second one is, of course, fear of heartbreak. Oh my god, I mean, of course, it's somewhere similar. Yes, but we can say a little bit difference is there, you cannot deny it. So fear of heartbreak, oh god. People don't want to be hurt, like they are so fragile nowadays, they just don't want to be hurt, you know See, why am I doing this video? Because, even looking at fears, you know even looking at your own fears, it just consciously looking at them, it also opens up, you know a, s- a spiritual path for you to walk upon. It's so much important to know thyself, you know so even knowing your own fears, it just plays a very important role on your spiritual journey. So this could be helpful, or otherwise just for fun, if you're watching the video, you can, right? So yeah, fear of being taken advantage of, fear of heartbreak. They don't want their hearts to be broken. Fear of failures, fear of suffering, so all these, three somewhere come in the same category, and yet they're a little bit slightly different, right? So these are the fears that I have seen in people. Let's move on to the next. Oh yeah. So let's move on to the fourth point. So the fear of hurting other people, especially the close ones. So people actually do carry these fears. The psychic, I've sensed it. People actually do carry these fear, that they might hurt someone who is so near and dear to them. So they carry this fear a lot. Do let me know in the comment section how many fears, how many of these fears are actually yours as well. So would like to know that. Then the next fear is, oh, oh yeah, yeah, fear. Okay, I think, okay, now I'm coming much more to little bit of my personal fears that I have in life, and I don't know if these are the fears that, you know really, really I've found much in people. But you can let me know if you also feel that way. So now I'm coming down to my personal fears. Okay, let me know if any of my personal fear is also your fear as well. So I have talked about some general fears till now. Now I want to talk about some of my personal fears as well. So one of the fear that I really have is the fear of being misunderstood. So I have always been a little more spiritually evolved person, and to the point where, people who are not at your spiritual level or not at your level of consciousness, they may not understand you, so there are highly possible chances that you are misunderstood by all these people. So yeah, I this has happened with me also a lot of times where I've tried to explain myself to people around me, to my friends or my family, but it was like I was talking to a wall. It was very draining. I'm trying to explain my side, but they just couldn't get it because they are not at my level of consciousness. They are not at my spiritual level. So, how they say that, the more spiritually evolved you are, the more get up the ladder, get on the ladder of spirituality, or, a path like this, the more alone you can feel, you know. So it's so true. Like, I do feel that way many a time. So I have, I have, I've gotten into this fear of being misunderstood. Like I'm talking to a wall and it's very draining. So yeah. And yeah, so one of my other fear is, will I ever be able to share my accomplishment with someone? Usually, I think jealousy is still natural. It's okay. And jealousy is most of the time. Jealousy is not about some other person. It's about you. You have, for example, somebody, let's say, I don't know. I mean, you do fear. I mean, it's jealousy is just fine. But uh, people sometimes act on it, and unconsciously they may act many a times. They have not done the inner work on themselves. They have not done the enough inner work on themselves. So they might get jealous or something. So yeah, I have this fear that if I ever achieve something in life, if I ever, or even my small achievements or something like this, will I ever be able to share it, with anyone around me? Because you would not want to share it with people who can't be happy in your happiness, right? So I have this fear, will I ever will I ever be able to share, you know, my accomplishments with somebody who can be really happy with me? When it comes to parents, yes, of course, our parents are the one who will be the most happy in our accomplishments. But most of the time, they are, most of the time, what happens is what we perceive as happiness, it is not important, and it's not mandatory that your parents also feel that that is a kind of happiness. So there is a difference in perceptions of happiness. Maybe what is happiness for you is not a happiness for them. It's not a reason of happiness for them. So uh, so yeah, I do have this personal fear many times. So will I ever be able to share my accomplishments? Will I ever be surrounded by people where I can never share my accomplishments with my close ones? So yeah, that is one of the fear that I have. Next up, oh, I have a fear of being bored of things. And And it's a fear and it's an illusion that actually school gave me that trauma. So in school I was highly bored because I'm a highly creative energy, I'm a highly spiritual energy, and it's just not me. Everybody is, right? It's just that, you know, they just never questioned it. I was on the other hand, maybe I just questioned it. You know, everybody feels the same way that I feel, but they just close themselves up to that feeling, But I was somebody who was highly bored in school, highly bored, extremely bored, extremely frustrated. I felt, in school. There were a lot of things from, I even questioned like why we had to have a beautiful handwriting. I don't get the whole point. If you can just understand what is written, why we're supposed to even design and have it a certain way, write it a certain way. So I don't know, I had a lot of problems with our school and education system while I was growing up, and if and I'm a very sensitive person, I'm a highly sensitive person. So if I am not in my creative zone, if I'm not in interaction with my Shakti, then I literally suffer. I literally suffer more than any other human being on this planet might. I am 10x sensitive. So people have really closed on their sensitivity, and yes, it is somewhere, yes, they are they are into the self-preservation, but for me it was like, yeah, I don't know. It was like the most bad feeling I could ever be into. I was highly bored. I never got to discover my own Shakti, my own potential, So yeah, so I was, but how, but I thought I'm such a fool, for feeling bored in school. I really thought, because if I looked around me, students were like, yeah, of course, as we grew up, friends around me and everybody, they started to, pay attention in classes, started to pay attention in school. As a kid, I never paid attention, but when we grew older, so kids were paying attention, how we were just programmed to pay attention, into things that we didn't even like, we didn't even want to know, right? So it was somewhere mandatory, and I thought that I was some kind of a fool, for not enjoying what others are enjoying. I could just never fit into, so I had that fear that I will be bored maybe of my job, maybe further I would be one day be bored of my relationships, in life further, but it will be mandatory for me, and I could just how in school it was mandatory to attend school, like, and literally, why we all human beings behaving completely like robots? It's compulsory. Like, how can school be compulsory, or how can everyone feel that way? And why no child is ever asked if he or she wants to attend the school? Like, it has completely, become very mandatory for like kids. You have to go to school. What's wrong with us? Nowadays many people, who are in the foreign, especially abroad, I feel, people have started to, get into homeschooling, and uh, literally we really need to ask ourselves, like, what is this, mandatory thing? I don't get it. Like, why things are mandatory, so I never wanted to go to school even as a kid, and even I grew up, I found it boring, and even if I try to make things interesting for myself, I lost on my marks, in examinations, because in examination is supposed to answer, the things that you wrote in your copy, or I don't know what. But I don't know, it was just so boring and so frustrating. and I could and I could just always feel it as a spiritual person that I cannot interact with my Shakti, I cannot interact with my creative, and I'm such a feminine energy. It's like you're not giving water to a fish, so I went into complete drama, like it's mandatory, but I can get bored of things, so I always found it, what if in further or future in future in my life I will face the same dilemma, maybe in my relationships, maybe in my, um maybe in my career, that I will be bored of things, but it will be mandatory. So it's one of my biggest fears that I had, but I don't have it now. Because now I have learned to interact with my Shakti, and I know, like, it's never about the other person, it's never about the career, it's never about, it's about I was feeling bored because I was not connected with myself. And if I would have been connected with myself, then I would not have been in that place called school. I would have been somewhere else, connected with my Shakti, and so I would not, I've not connected to my Shakti, and now I know which career to enter, which relationship to enter, you know, and my and my the boredom or anything like that is not dependent on the other person. At the end of the day, is what I have found out when I interacted with my Shakti. So yeah, I did had this big fear. I think I can. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, I did discuss all the points that were there. So let me know if any of the fear that you have and have not mentioned in my video, that you feel that you have, or what all fears that you really resonated with. You can give, you can just write in the bullet numbers, like number 4, number 5, number 6, whatever fear you feel you have. Can I just Let me just repeat, the fears in the bullet numbers. If you feel, if you wish, you can comment down below, you can like the video, you can share the video, you can make it reach other people. If you found it interesting, you can make it reach other people as well. Just a second, I'm not able to. Yeah. Yeah. So the very first fear was fear of being taken advantage of. I have felt this fear. I've never met a human being who never felt this way. So fear of being taken. Of course, they have not told me, but you can say that I have sensed it always. I'm a very highly sensitive person. I can always sense things, and yeah. So fear of being taken advantage of, then fear of heartbreak, fear of failure. Fear of heartbreak is second, right? Fear of failure, suffering is third. Then uh, fourth is fear of hurting other people, especially in the close ones. So this is now fear number 4. Then fear from now on, like, I have started to discuss my personal fear. So fear number 5 was, you know, fear of being misunderstood, by people who are not at your level of consciousness. So it's like talking to a wall, right? So that's fear number 5. Then we talked about fear number 6. Will I ever be able to share my accomplishments with someone, who can be happy in my happiness? Or will I always be surrounded by people who can never be happy? Um, yeah. So somebody who has not done the inner work, somebody who has not done the spiritual work, you know, they are, yeah. The truth of the world is, the truth of the spiritual world is that we all are one, literally. And it's just so weird to explain what we all are one, literally. Isn't it crazy that, somebody who reaches on the other side, somebody who makes it, to the spiritual side of the truth, somebody who sees the truth, can never, can just always say that it's very difficult to explain the truth and can never explain the truth. Isn't this the perfect game that could ever be? Somebody who's crossed the finish line can never explain to the runners, to the athletes back, that this is how it is done. Isn't this the perfect game of life? You have to do it on your own. But yeah, um, some hints, some guide, some hope, you can be given from the person who has crossed the finish line, who has seen that how all is one. Yeah, but people are stuck in their ego. They don't get it. They don't get it. They don't get it. Right. So that was one of my fears. This is my fear number 6. Fear of, will I ever be able to share my accomplishments with someone who can be really happy with me in my happiness? So that's number 6. Then number 7 was getting bored of things. Getting into a dilemma basically, that I am bored, but it is mandatory to be into. So that's fear number 7. Yeah. Yeah, I think, yeah, fear number 7. So 3, 4, 5, 6, and yeah. So let me know in the comment section which fear do you really resonate with. And yeah, thank you for watching the video.